Good afternoon, YouTubers. This is Joseph Magi, author of Playing Card Divination and Fortune Telling, the Magi Method. You can find the book worldwide on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback versions. You can find the full color card deck used here on Etsy/Magi Method. And you can join us on Facebook. I might use some charms today. We're going to see. Some of you have probably noticed that the stock market is collapsing right now as we speak. In fact, right now, as I'm making this video, the stock market is down another 500 points. Okay, so let's just try to get this. Focus. Okay. So, from a record high just like 2 weeks ago, we reached a record high in the stock market, 26,608. That's the record high. And since then, it's just been dropping. And right now, it's down 500 points, and it's dropped 3,200 points from this record high, it's just like a rock falling off a cliff. You may look at that and think, well, who cares? You know, that's not real money. It's just inflation. Well, is it or isn't it? I mean, I want to deal with the financial system from a spiritual point of view. And and by the way, I'm a CPA, which is a certified public accountant, and that's higher than a master's degree. I actually do know a little bit about money. And so the question I want to address is the United States and the world, are we going to face an economic collapse within the next 50 years? Okay, and in 2008, I don't know if you remember it, Barack Obama had to bail out the banks who were too big to fail to the tune of $900 billion. Okay, a lot of people chafed at that, and they said, why did he have to do that? Why did he have to do that? Well, the president before him, I'm not sure if it was William Jefferson Clinton. I'm not sure if he was right before Barack Obama or not. I can't recall. I should have looked this up. Anyway, William Jefferson Clinton, who I liked as a president, who I think did a good job, and he balanced the budget. Anyway, and he had some personal problems that we recall. Anyway, he, for some reason, the banks were forced to give out loans to a whole bunch of people who were previously unqualified to receive these loans. They gave out a whole bunch of loans to just everybody, and then he left office, and everybody's like, yeah, we love Bill Clinton. And then when Barack Obama got into office, the chickens came home to roost. All those bad loans, the people who were unqualified to receive these loans, they just simply didn't pay them back. Okay, and it created a huge crisis, and our economy almost collapsed, okay, from people not paying back their loans. There's a lot of excuses. There was a lot of virtue signaling, but basically they gave out a whole bunch of bad loans, and then they weren't paid back, okay? And the not paying back part, it's a bubble. So what happens in the stock market is we live in an inflationary system, okay? And the one thing the Bible says is don't charge usury, okay? Deuteronomy 23, you shall not charge interest to your brother, interest on money or food or anything that is lent out at interest. On the other hand, to a foreigner, you may charge interest. Okay, interesting. This is why I love the Bible. You can charge interest to a foreigner, but you can't charge interest to, your own brother. Your American citizens, America is not allowed to charge interest to other Americans, okay? France is not allowed to charge interest to other French people, okay? Like that. So I find that interesting because that's radically different than the thinking of today. Anyway, so I want to talk about the coming economic collapse. Okay, will there be an economic collapse? and with the 2008 bailout, 5 countries went bankrupt. Okay, so is this real? Okay, we had a stock market crisis just like we're having now, and we had a banking crisis and a real estate crisis, and the bubble deflated. Everybody remembers that? I sold my house at that time. What happened? 5 countries in Europe went bankrupt. The pigs: Portugal, Italy, Ireland, Greece, and Spain. Portugal, Italy, Ireland, Greece, and Spain. Pigs. Okay, they've been bailed out by the EU. Okay, but America had a stock market issue, and it quickly went to Europe, and 5 countries went bankrupt. Now, they've been bankrupt, they've been bailed out by the EU, but that was a big deal. It was a very big deal. So eventually, the markets of the world will crash. And I want to cover it from a spiritual point of view. Okay, Revelation 18. Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and cage for every unclean and hated bird. Interesting. All the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. God really wants to talk to us about fornication. Okay? In 1 hour, O great Babylon, your judgment has come, and the merchants of the earth, it's all about money, the merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her, for no one buys their merchandise anymore. Okay, so here there's every shipmaster, all who travel by ship, sailors and as many as who trade on the sea, stood at a distance and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, what is like this great city? So for in 1 hour she is made desolate. In 1 hour, in 1 hour. 3 times God says in 1 hour, just in this small passage. So what that says is this collapse, okay, boom, it happens really fast, really fast. Why? It's a financial collapse. Okay, that collapse will come. The question is when? Okay, and we're having a little mini collapse. This is a shot over the bow, another shot over the bow. Did they fundamentally change what they were doing in 2008? No, they absolutely did not. Okay, we live in an inflationary system. They haven't changed a thing. And right now, they're doing a whole new virtue signaling thing where they're flooding Europe with immigrants who, like 93% of them are not able to get jobs. They just are not, most of them are just not suited for the societies that they're entering. And that's going to be exactly the same. And the whole world system can collapse. Anyway, with regard to inflation, it's inflation. $1 in 1971, when we went off the gold standard, is now $6.04. That's 604% inflation since just 1971. $1 since 1929, the great stock market crash of 1929, is $14.31. That's 1,431% inflation since 1929. That's 1,431% less buying power for that piece of paper in your pocket. And something else I want you to understand is that the world is no longer on the gold standard. Okay, we are on the dollar standard. When in 1971, and maybe before, whenever we went off the gold standard, the US dollar, all of the currencies of the world are pegged against the US dollar. Okay, not gold. The US dollar used to be pegged against gold. We're off the gold standard. Why? Because there's no upper ceiling. You can inflate as much as you want. There's no upper ceiling. And that's what they're doing, okay? And so this bubble has to pop. And when this bubble really pops, this is a deflating of that bubble. When that bubble of inflation finally pops, and it will, the economic system of the whole world will just crash. That's what I want you to understand. Okay, so are we going to experience an economic collapse within the next 50 years? That's what I want to know. Okay, and that paper in your wallet will become completely worthless if that happens. Incubus, succubus, bad relationship. Let's just see what we get here. I'm gonna flip this card. Ooh, oh my. Outcome, I'm just gonna flip them all. This is no one knows the day or the hour. Let's just see if you can see that. Okay, so yeah, there we go. Okay. All right, so according to Revelation, an economic collapse will come. Okay, the question is when. And 2008 was a very good example of what is coming. And if Barack Obama had not bailed out the banks, we would have had a depression worse than 1929. All systems eventually fail. Rome fell after the fall of Rome. There were 600 years of Dark Ages. It is now politically incorrect to say Dark Ages because I looked it up. It's called the Middle Ages now, which is incredible. It's funny that the words are more important than the content. Interesting. So, okay. And the Bible also talks about the root of all evil is the love of money. Okay, so it will be an economic collapse. What do we have here? Okay, we have city and man. Interesting. The city of man. Okay, city, it's all about commerce. It's all about city. Incubus, succubus. Sixes are relationship cards. Okay, 6 spades is a bad relationship. 6 spades is selfishness, adultery. It's specifically adultery and fornication. That's interesting. It's specifically a sex card. Okay, and here it just kept saying, because of the fornications. And people don't use that word anymore. Because of the fornications of the great harlot Babylon. Okay, this literally says man in the great, this is the city of Babylon, man and his fornications with the great city of Babylon. Fox. Fox is a sexy female. She always wants something. Okay, this is a very selfish card. This is also a selfish card. This is finery. This is where looking nice and smelling nice and having all these fine things. Okay, so here on top we have the mustard seed and we have the handcuffs. So the seeds of this destruction are planted, and we are bound to this path, this bad path. Interesting. Okay, veil is something hidden. No one knows the day or the hour. This most closely relates to the city, the center card. So the day of destruction for Babylon, the financial systems of the world, is hidden. Okay, current situation. Well, we got lucky, folks. Okay, current situation, we got the cornerstone, which is a solid foundation. So even though we're having a bit of a hiccup here, the bubble is letting out some serious air. Okay, and that represents billions and billions and billions of dollars being let out of this stock market right now. And this is having a ripple effect. But right now, it's still solid. The cornerstone is very solid. This is people and events. The cornerstone is solid. Star of Bethlehem, this direction leads to executioner. Okay, the executioner acts without consulting anybody. Okay, so you put the head on the chopping block, and the executioner chops the head off of the victim, of the person who is condemned to die. So the outcome is very negative. The current situation is solid. We're still solid, but the outcome is very negative. Inevitably, this day is coming. Okay, the financial systems of the world will collapse. Societies only last so long before they collapse. And based on the 2008 events with the real estate and having to bail out the banks, socialism is already, that was a heart attack for socialism. Socialism, the Western socialism in Europe and also in the United States, slightly to a lesser degree, but not really. Okay, we're all following around each other around like lemmings. It's already failed. It had a triple bypass surgery after the 2008. And one of the things that has happened is this man, Donald Trump, has been elected. Whether you like him or not, people are like, holy crap. And they elected Donald Trump. And another thing that happened is Brexit. Okay, Britain is leaving the EU because enough people are like, okay, that's enough. This is just getting crazy. Okay, so that day is coming, and the great whore Babylon is going to get the axe, and man, it's all coming down. Okay, and I wanted to read you one more passage. This is from Daniel. I love this passage. You might think it's strange, but actually the passage for Magi is here in this same passage. This is where Daniel is declared a Magi. He's declared chief of the magicians, enchanters, astrologers, and diviners. Right there. Anyway, love Daniel. Anyway, so here Belshazzar, the king, they brought the vessels of the Lord's house from Jerusalem, the vessel, the gold and the silver goblets that were in the house of God, and they were drinking from them. Their wives and their concubines, and they got drunk from them. And so literally a hand shows up, just a hand shows up on the wall and writes the words "Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin." And God has weighed you on the scale and found you wanting, and your time is up. Okay? And Daniel is the man who interpreted these words. And that night, the king was slain, and the kingdom was turned over to another. And the message of that is it's about at that place, they were at a high point. Okay, they were at a high point. This 26,608 is the highest in the history of the stock market. Okay, that's the highest number in the history of the stock market. And these people, the king and his wives and officials and lords, they were at a high point, and they were partying, they were drinking, and suddenly, you know, it's all over. It just comes crashing down. And that is what's going to happen to our economic system, because it's based on inflation. It's based on usury. Another point I'd like to make is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is a good example. Bitcoin right now, one Bitcoin is selling for, where is it? One Bitcoin is selling for $8,100 per Bitcoin. Why? Okay, so one Bitcoin is worth 8,100 American dollars. Why? Because there's a limited number of Bitcoins. Bitcoins are not physical. They're not even paper. They're nothing. But people trade them. Okay, and they're worth $8,100 right now, today. Why? And why is this crash coming? This crash is coming because the debt under Mr. Trump, under President Trump, is going from $450 billion to $1.1 trillion. They are printing more money. Okay. I want to explain to you, I'm sorry to go on, but I want to explain to you what's going on. What happened with the real estate crisis? They're giving out all these loans to people who were not eligible for loans, and they made a whole bunch of, virtue signaling about it, okay? And that almost crashed the economies of the entire world. Why did that work? In the short term, it works because every time if Joseph goes to get a loan, he goes to get a house loan for $300,000. I walk into a bank and I get a $300,000 loan. What actually happens is 300,000 new dollars were created. The money supply just increased by $300,000. Okay, so you multiply that. There's a whole bunch of people going to get loans. And now in Europe, they're importing a whole bunch of people into their system. And in the short term, that costs a lot of money. The countries are going to take loans, so that expands the money supply. Okay, so in the short term, there's more money. If that money's not paid back later, everything comes crashing down. The executioner will come and do some reaping. Okay, and that is what's going to happen. That is inevitably what's going to happen. How soon? How soon, O Lord? We're here under the, how long, O Lord, until you come and judge? Okay, when does this executioner, how long? I'm just going to throw some cards and we're going to see in years. I asked within the next 50 years. So within the next 50 years, interesting, in my lifetime, within the next 50 years. I already asked. It's within the next 50 years. And it's hidden. It's no one knows the day or the hour. Okay, so it's hidden. All right. So we already know it's within the next 50 years. So let me summarize what I'm seeing here. Okay, the great city of Babylon, man in his fornications in the great city of Babylon, he's living in his finery. The seeds of destruction are planted, okay? But no one knows the day or the hour. Today, right now, it's still solid. It's not collapsing tomorrow. It's not collapsing today. But this path is set, and the path of destruction is certain, okay? The outcome, the most important card in the Celtic Cross, it's coming. He's coming, okay? The executioner, he's coming. Anyway, that's how I see it. I'm Joseph Magi, author of Playing Card Divination and Fortune Telling, the Magi Method. I'm going to say one more thing. The way to solve this is I'm not even going to say that. We need to break off from this ridiculous, overarching federal government. Okay, the nightmare that is creating this is the one power, and this is against the Constitution. The states need to have sovereignty. A lot of people might disagree with me on that, but that's how it's going to turn out one way or the other. And that's what needs to happen, and that's what the Constitution teaches. And what we have now with the federal government running everything, that is the nightmare anticipated by the framers of this great country and the Constitution, and that's exactly what is not supposed to happen. Anyway, you can find the book worldwide on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback. You can get the full color card deck on Etsy/Magi Method. You can join us on Facebook.